Hi there, how is it going? Welcome back to el podcast de Salón de Idiomas. So, Rox is not today with me, but here I have a special guest. Welcome, Lee. How are you doing?
Thank you. Great, thanks. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm so excited to talk to you about Oxford test.
Me too. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. So, I really want to talk about this since I know that this test is brand new, basically. And so you are probably like with a bunch of new technologies that you're applying in this one.
Hmm.
So, but don't let me get my head off of this.
Hmm.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, my name is Lee Golding. I am the Business Development Manager for Assessment at Oxford University Press, and I head up the exams business here in Spain. As you probably guessed from my name, I am of English descent, but born and raised here in Spain. So I am very familiar with the learning of English as a second language in this country. I do have experience in the English language teaching sector. 15 years it's coming up to now. I have been in
Wow.
language travel, e-learning platforms, private language schools, academies, and most recently, assessment.
Awesome. So how does that feel?
Like a lifetime, but
Right?
no, good. I really feel like I'm contributing to making people's lives better, helping people get jobs, get into university, improve their lives through English. So yeah, it's a nice job. It's a nice sector to be in.
Yeah, that definitely is extremely fulfilling knowing that your work is going to have an impact on everybody's professional life later on. Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yes.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Oxford. Now,
Okay.
what inspired Oxford to create this new test?
Okay, so I've made a few notes
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
because there is a lot to tell, but I've tried to summarize it.
Uh-huh.
So Oxford University Press has a publishing history that goes back 500 years, and it was over 100 years ago that we published the first Oxford Dictionary
Wow.
that a lot of people will have heard of. Since then, OUP, as we call it, Oxford University Press, has become, a market leader really in all kinds of English language teaching materials. And, it made sense for us to apply all that expertise in the development of a language proficiency test. So that was kind of the reason behind it. When we decided to create this test, the Oxford Test of English, we were clear that it had to be different to pre-established tests. So the market is in no need for yet another long, boring, difficult, and expensive exam. We also wanted to create a test that could assess 21st century skills and not oblige test takers to spend hours practicing exercises whose sole function are to pass a test,
Yeah.
not to then be applied in real life.
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue in many ways to assess people. It's just that they are just preparing to pass a test, and in the end, they end up having their certification, and that's fantastic. However, when they're in the real world, when they are working abroad, that's kind of perhaps one of the goals of having the certification is for. They end up not being able to communicate with anybody because they only know how to pass a test.
That's right. And they'll point to their certificate that's in a frame on the wall. And we really wanted to move away from that. We wanted an online exam, a digital exam that produced a digital certification that was a companion, if you like, in this language learning journey. So you take it, you get your certificate, and you can then come back to it and take it as many times as you need and retake different parts of the exam to keep improving your language level, and then have that, like I say, travel companion that will always be with you, and you can show for interviews, for any other academic purposes, etc.
Wow, I really like that way you call it, like your partner companion. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not you're traveling with me, but it's not necessarily just like you are kind of representing me. No, you are just with me, but no, you're not representing me. I like that. I really like that way to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. We like it. We also wanted to move away from the idea of hurdles. So the way exams are typically thought of are different hurdles. So I need to get past my A2, jump over, did it. I need to get
Yes.
past my B1, jumped over, made it. I need to get past my B2, oh, failed. I need to go back, study again, go back to that B2 and try and get over that hurdle again. With the Oxford Test of English, as it is adaptive and certifies different levels and shows you where you're at in terms of speaking, listening, reading, writing, the idea is, look, we are going to certify your level and we will tell you what you need to work on to then continue improving your language proficiency.
Yeah, but so far you're still like, this is your level and you should also be proud of it to some extent. So
exactly. And that's a very good point, Alonso. One of the messages that some test takers get when they're taking a traditional exam, like a paper-based exam, and they fail it, say, I don't know, I want to take a B2 test and I spend months practicing for it. I buy all the necessary books and materials. I pay, I don't know, say €200 to take the exam.
yes.
And I fail it. That isn't just disappointing in itself. The message I then get is, you are no good at English. This is not for you. Go and
Exactly.
do something else.
Yeah.
And B2 is a really good level. B1 is a really good level.
Yeah.
I wish I had a B1 or a B2 in German or in Chinese or another language.
Exactly.
So by offering a adaptive multi-level exam, you can say to students, you're not going to fail. This is the level we're certifying for you right now. And this is where you need to work to get to the next level, which is the one that we understand you need.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually, again, if perhaps you are looking for the C1, however, you end up having a B2, you're still having a reward. That's something that is completely available and useful. And that also, again, it lets you know what your level is, what are your competences, and of course, the things that you have to reinforce later on if you want to look for this new level.
Absolutely. But there's other advantages to the exam, many of them actually, and that's why I jotted some of them down so I didn't forget any of them. What makes the Oxford Test of English different, apart from what we've just been mentioning, is its duration. So it takes only 2 hours.
Wow.
It's 100% online and adaptive, as I mentioned. It takes only 5 days for us to correct the results, correct and deliver the results, which in today's day and age is crucial, right? Everyone's always in a rush, needs everything for tomorrow. We give test centers like Salon Exams, like yourselves, the availability and the choice to decide on which day you want to run the exam. You could run it any day of the year. You can run as many times as you want. And if we compare the cost of the Oxford Test of English with other traditional exams, it's on average much cheaper.
Yeah, well, like a bunch of different pros, but definitely something that people should always think about is time-wise. The aspect that you don't have to wait 3 months or a month or something along those lines. That not only do you have to be really strict with your schedules, or like, I need a certificate for this moment for this particular purpose, but also, the anxiety that it provokes to
yes, exactly.
wait on indefinitely when you have your answer or whatever. If you end up failing, or if you end up not achieving the goal that you were looking for, you can always try again sooner rather than later.
It's interesting you mentioned that word anxiety, and it's a word that unfortunately a lot of test takers associate with language proficiency tests. You feel anxious leading up to the exam. You feel anxious during the exam. Have I answered correctly? Haven't I? You feel anxious during those days or weeks that you're waiting for the results. Have I passed? Have I failed? And we've tried to remove that as much as possible with the exam. So it's an exam that doesn't require specific preparation as such. You don't have to buy an Oxford Test of English book that will tell you exactly how to pass the test. And if you do the practice tests 1,000 times over, then you will definitely pass the test. It is a test that is totally aligned to the Common European Framework. So the descriptors of the Common European Framework establish what a student or what a person must be able to demonstrate at speaking, listening, reading, and writing levels. And they have that described for A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. And the advantage of the Oxford Test of English being such a new exam is that the Common European Framework was launched in 2001, I think. Many language certification exams existed before that year.
Yeah, of course.
So they've adapted to the Common European Framework, whereas we just went straight to the framework, took the descriptors, and we designed the questions based on those descriptors. So whatever methodology you're using, whatever book you're using, whatever teacher you have, if they're following the Common European Framework.
It goes along with the Oxford assessment method.
Exactly.
Okay,
And I'd
wow.
say 99% of methodologies these days follow the CFR, the Common European Framework. So you're already preparing for that exam.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Okay.
There is one very important thing as well, which is on the certificate itself, you have the logo of the University of Oxford. It is the university who certifies the Oxford Test of English.
Wow.
So you are receiving a certificate from the best university in the world, not because I say so.
No, that's the numbers. It's just not an opinion, it's numbers.
Exactly. The Times Higher Education, who publish rankings of universities worldwide, this year just gone, 2023, published Oxford University as #1 for the 8th consecutive year. So you're getting not a degree, but a certificate from the University of Oxford.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely something to think of.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee. So now I want to focus a little bit on the structure of the test for our listeners that perhaps are not completely familiar with the structure of the test or even haven't taken a look at it yet.
Sure. So the exam is 100% online. We do it on a computer. We use headsets, microphones. You cannot do it at home. You have to come to Salon Exams or an authorized test center because it must be invigilated under conditions, security conditions, of course. It consists of 4 modules, which reflect the 4 skills which are in the Common European Framework: speaking, listening, reading and writing. And it assesses candidates' ability against those descriptors of the framework for each of those skills. So in terms of each of those modules, speaking takes 15 minutes. It's the shortest part. And it is a simulated oral proficiency interview. What does that mean? It means that you are not speaking with someone face to face. You are listening to questions and you are answering those questions. And that recording, that audio, will then go to a server, if you like, which will then be listened to by an assessor, an Oxford assessor, who will correct it later on. So there is nobody listening in real time. You can relax. We remove that anxiety of, what if I don't understand their accent? What if I get stuck? So that's how the speaking works.
But that's definitely, let me interrupt you for a second. That's also really important that you are mentioning that it's a real person who is going to listen to this recording later on. Since some people might be a little bit worried about, I don't know, some use of AI or something along those lines, that might be like, well, what if their algorithm or whatever doesn't meet my criteria, or I don't meet their criteria and I end up failing even if I did a good performance? No, in the end, it's a real person who's going to listen to you.
That's a very good observation. New technologies are very interesting. I think they're going to add a lot to language learning. They already are. But in terms of language assessment and the correction side of things, we know that it is used for marking speakings and writings with other language certifications. From our investigations and our research, we don't feel 100% confidence for that to happen just yet. And the procedures, the rigor and the quality behind the marking of our own assessors is very extensive. We have a big team of assessors marking speaking and writing modules, and we enable the possibility for test takers, if they want to review those results. So, yes, it is being marked by assessors. Yes, there are some strict quality controls in place, but if you do not agree with a certain score, or if you're 1 point away from that level that you need, you can request a review of those results. We make that process quite easy and straightforward.
Wow, that's wonderful, because sometimes people take the test and they end up having a negative result and they don't even know why. They're like, okay, I failed. Okay, I'm not saying that I am against that, but I don't know what I failed in, so I would like to know where my errors are.
Yes, I mean, I don't think any language proficiency test will tell you exactly where you didn't reach the level.
But at least an approximation, right?
The result we give on the certificate tells you how close you came. The results review, what that process does is ensures that a second assessor, so not the one who corrected it originally, also reviews your speaking or your writing and awards it a mark. If that mark is the same than the original assessor, then obviously there's no change. If it's better, then of course we'll update that certificate. But in terms of where you've gone wrong, I don't think there are any language proficiency tests that tell you that.
Oh,
And there's a number of reasons for that in terms of the security of the questions. We need to make sure that that is always
Okay, that's okay.
closely
You have a
guarded
great
and
point.
looked after.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think about that. Okay.
What else to tell you about speaking? So the last 15 minutes, like I said, you put a headset on, you do a quick sound check, and there's a number of questions. Oh yes, this is really interesting. So with traditional language proficiency tests, where there is a face-to-face interview, the way they usually work is the oral examiner tends to interview two people at a time, which means your interview is split between your time and the time of the person who's with you and the responses that you can give. On average, you can produce between 4 to 5 minutes of output during those face-to-face interviews. What we can do with an online exam and a simulated oral proficiency interview is gather a lot more audio. So we can gather up to nearly twice as much audio from test takers, which then gives us a lot more content to establish if they're at an A2 or a B1 or a B2. Because if you have a limited amount of content and the test taker doesn't have a good day or stumbles on a question, then you want to ensure they have more chances throughout the module to demonstrate that level.
Yeah, you have a longer exposure to their audio, so you can deliver a more precise assessment.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how the speaking works. The listening takes half an hour. Also requires the use of a headset, which is a great advantage if we compare it to your traditional language tests where there's a speaker at the end of the room and you need to be making sure you can hear what's being said and make sure no one moves their chair or coughs. It's all through the headsets. Questions are repeated up to twice. And because the test is adaptive and certifies different levels, if you get the question wrong with listening, the next question you'll get will be at a lower level. If you get it right, it will be at a higher level. You won't know as a test taker if you got it right or wrong until we actually marked it. But throughout the test, the idea is to ensure that the test taker perceives that the questions are at his or her level. So it's not too difficult, it's not too easy. It adapts.
Wonderful.
The reading works pretty much the same. It's adaptive. It lasts half an hour. It's multiple choice. And the great thing about the Oxford Test of English is not only that it's a mirror image of the descriptors of the Common European Framework, but the type of exercises you find in this test are the kind of exercises you would find in any textbook or any classroom. So if you're in a language course already, at Salon Exams or at another language academy or at school or at university, you are effectively already preparing for this test.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to ask you about, more like misconceptions that people might have, that when they are preparing for this certificate, or whichever certificate, they always consider that they only have to follow like specific structure for their test. So I guess that if they think about this with Oxford, they would be not completely correct, as actually whatever your preparation is already useful for it, right?
Exactly. I always distinguish between preparation and familiarization.
Okay.
So you are preparing a level, a B1, a B2, whatever level you're preparing, and you're doing that at your academy, at your school, at your university. Once you've completed that course, 9 months or 2 years, or however long it might be, if you're then ready, if your teacher thinks you're ready to take a language proficiency test, you should be able to go and do a test where you can demonstrate that level without having to prepare exercises which you only need to demonstrate in the exam to pass the exam. So that's preparation. Familiarization, which is really important ahead of an exam, is what am I going to see? What am I going to hear? What are the exercise types like? And for that, you have demos, you have practice tests, and we have those kind of resources on the Oxford Test of English website. They are available for everyone. They're free. Because it's a new exam, we are continuing to produce more and more of these familiarization materials.
Excellent.
But it's important to make the distinction. I talked about speaking, listening, reading.
We go with writing.
With writing, which is the final part. The last part is the longest part of the exam. It lasts a maximum 45 minutes and typically consists of 2 parts. So the first part is an email, and the second part is an essay or a review. You can choose either essay or review. Being online, test takers are informed at all times of how much time they have left for each exercise, not just in writing, in the other modules as well. And for writing, they have a word count. So in the instructions, it will tell you how many words you need to write, a minimum 80, a maximum 140, for example, and you don't want to be counting with your finger on
Great,
screen.
exactly. You will have to be like 1, 2, 3, and spending like 10 minutes doing that. I'm probably wrong.
Exactly. So there's many advantages of having an online test. Also, the handwriting, right? My handwriting is terrible.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to take a test with my hand because I cannot even read my own handwriting.
So being able to write with the keyboards, being able to speak into the computer, being able to see different types of exercises, colored photos, etc., makes the experience a lot more user-friendly for test takers. And hey, in 2 hours, you finish the test. As you walk out through the door, you will have your results for listening and reading. Those results are pretty much immediate.
Excellent.
And within a maximum 5 days, you will have your speaking and your writing and the overall certificate and level.
Wow. So you not only do you have your results, but you also have your certification.
Exactly.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah. Excellent. Because in some cases you get your results and you're like, yeah, I passed, but then you have to wait for like 2 weeks or something to get your certification.
Exactly. Well, that's another way of us removing anxiety for test takers.
Yeah.
Not having to wait. Did I pass? Did I fail? Or did I get the result that I wanted? Hey, as soon as you walk out through the test room door, you will know how you performed on listening and reading. And within days, sometimes hours, sometimes we correct within 24 hours, you will have your results for speaking and writing and your official certificate with the University of Oxford logo.
Oh, great. So if it happens that you end up correcting the candidate's speaking and writing test in 2 or 1 day, they will have their certificate even sooner.
That's right. We have a large team of assessors who mark, and obviously, depending on what time of year it is, sometimes we have thousands of students taking the test across different countries, and then other times of the year there's less. We commit to a maximum 5 days to deliver results, but yes, sometimes I've even seen that the results for the whole test are available on the same day.
Wow. Now that's service. Excellent. Excellent. Wow. Okay, now I want to ask you about some stories that you might know of some people, of some successful stories of people taking this test, even if they were extremely nervous or they thought that, I don't know, English was not their thing or something along those lines.
So yeah, I can think of a number of success stories I've seen over the years. One that I always like to refer to is we ran a pilot with a chain of what we call private language schools or academies, and I can't mention their name, but they have academies all over the world. They have several in Spain, and they came to us and they said, look, we've heard about the Oxford Test of English and the fact that it does not require specific preparation, and we would like to put this to the test, no pun intended, and see if our students doing our methodology will get the results that we expect from them. And they put forward around 400 students, 400 test takers who took the test, and I think it was something like 96% of them got the result that was expected from them. So those that were in an A2 course got an A2, those that were in a B1 course got a B1. Some of them even got better than expected results in some of the modules, and that kind of proves the point.
Wow.
That this test does not require specific preparation as such, but where familiarization does help in terms of demos, practice tests, etc. So that's one success story and proves an important point for the exam. A number of other success stories, like I said at the beginning of the interview, seeing people getting a job, being able to go on an Erasmus, be able to get into university or get the degree because they have the Oxford Test of English certification is wonderful.
Yeah, it's extremely fulfilling. Fantastic. Yes. Wow. That's a great story. I was not expecting something like that. That's really impressive. Okay, so you have mentioned all these technological features that Oxford has. Is there any other technological aspect that you would like to share that Oxford has under their sleeve?
So in terms of technology, the exam is obviously 100% online. It's served through a platform. It's, like I said, can't be done at home. It's done through test centers. In terms of innovations, new things that are coming along, we are soon launching the Oxford Test of English Advanced, which will certify C1 and downwards to B2 levels of the Common European Framework. Not so much technology, but in terms of pedagogy, if you like. This exam is really innovative because it will assess. So the Common European Framework was updated not so long ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, with something called the companion volume, which brought in a new dimension to assessment, including mediation. So mediation, integrated skills, and once again, we took those descriptors to develop the Oxford Test of English Advanced and included those kind of exercises in the exam. So that exam, that test, will be on the platform with the same features as the existing exam in terms of shorter duration, in terms of fast results, but it will certify up to C1. What we're also doing with the platform is making it more inclusive. So there are different features on the platform, such as being able to change the background, the color, or giving extra time for certain modules, or increasing the font size so that people with cognitive or visual impairments can also come and take the test.
Fantastic. That's something that is pivotal. Yeah, especially, for instance, in my case, like I get headaches if I'm in front of a white page or a white screen for a long extended period of time. So perhaps like dark mode or something like that could be on the menu.
Yes, it's not called dark mode, but you can change to a pastel themed background, which, yes, hurts your eyes less than the white background.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, many of our listeners who are thinking about taking the test will be glad as well.
Great.
Okay, so speaking of our listeners, so many of our listeners are from Spain.
Yes.
If they take their Oxford test, what is it helpful for them?
Okay, so in Spain, we have widespread recognition. Spain and another 80 countries. It's not just an exam for Spain.
Awesome.
But in Spain specifically, it is recognized by universities and consejerías de educación, so those departments of governments and regional governments that are responsible for education. And it's recognized for lots of different purposes. So it's recognized for grados. So if you're taking a university degree, it's recognized for you to get your degree. It can be recognized for postgrads. It can be recognized for oposiciones, and I wish I knew the translation for that into English, but
for the teacher's endorsement exam?
For teacher's endorsement exam within the world of oposiciones, yes, it is also recognized. It is recognized by the Ministry of Education for Erasmus programs. It is recognized, again, within the world of oposiciones by correos, for people who want to get into correos. We have published all this recognition on the website. So if you go to the oxfordtestoфenglish.com, you can find the recognition section. And we don't just list the recognizing institutions, we actually put live links there to the boletín, if you like, or the documents where the recognition is published. And that recognition might say, we recognize the Oxford Test of English, or it might say, we recognize those language proficiency tests or certificates that are included in the tables of ACLES.
Excellent.
Which is a leading authority in the world of language testing, recognition, etc. So many institutions, governments, universities will say whatever ACLES says. And ACLES is the Asociación de Centros de Lenguas de Enseñanza Superior, who represents the higher education, if you like, university side of language assessment, language learning. And what they publish on their tables is what, like I said, a lot of universities and consejerías replicate.
Okay, wow. Well, you heard me. So definitely people are going to recognize your Oxford certification here in Spain. Wonderful.
They will. I would like to give one piece of advice because I think it's important. And the responsibility for checking which language certificate your university, your consejería, your potential employer is going to accept lies with you. It is important that you inform yourself of which certificates they will accept. Of course, the Oxford Test of English has widespread recognition, but so do many other language tests.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not valid for the purpose for which you need it. So please do your homework.
Yeah.
Find out which certificates are accepted, and then that can help you decide which language test you need to take.
Okay. Do you have any other piece of advice for who is considering taking this test?
Yes, I would say going back to the familiarization piece, we have loads of familiarization resources on the website, open, they're free. We have demos, we have practice tests, we have a couple of documents that I really like called the speaking tips and the writing tips. So how you can perform better in speaking, how you can perform better in writing. We have the assessment criteria on the website. So what our assessors are looking for in the speaking and writing modules. So those modules where you are producing content and how they mark those modules. So yeah, familiarize yourself with the test. Give yourself plenty of time to get to the test center on time.
Yeah.
Do not forget your ID document. Really important. This is like a flight. You get to the airport, you don't have your ID document, you are not flying.
Oh, so are you gonna make me take off my shoes?
No, but the ID document is important because we are the University of Oxford is issuing a certificate in the name of someone, and we need to be able to make sure that the person who comes to take the test on that day is the correct person.
Of course. Yeah. Okay, great. So now, Lee, is there anything else you would like to tell our audience?
Just to, please take a look at the website, the Oxford Test of English. Take a look at Salon Exams website as well. I checked your website before I came, and there is so much useful information on there. Not just for the Oxford Test of English. I like that you include other certifications. I like that you include kind of consultancy and tips on what you need, recognition, the structure of different tests, the preparation for them. So that's really good. And yeah, get your English language level certified, because yes, speaking English is important, but there will come a time when you will be one of a number of people in a admissions process, in a job interview process, and out of those 100 people, when the HR manager or when the admissions manager has 100 CVs on their table and has to decide which 50 they're going to keep, those that say English language level intermediate versus English language level certified by the Oxford Test of English or any other prestigious institution, you know which one they're going to keep, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, demonstrate what you know by getting your English language level certified.
Well, thank you very much, Lee. So now, do you want to have the honors of saying, like, the casual things that we say for our social media, subscribe to the channel and all that?
Of course, please do.
Okay. So, please subscribe to the channel if you're listening to this on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, please follow us. And yeah, so thank you very much for coming today, Lee. It was fantastic. I couldn't be more grateful to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and we are delighted to have Salon Exams form part of the Test Center Network here in Spain.
Thank you very much.
Thank
okay,
you.
well, bye. See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.